The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
You want to see something that's kind of funny, but also disturbing? Time Magazine has put out articles over the years about why processed foods are bad. Processed foods, big source of added sugar, processed foods, and government subsidies linked to obesity. What eating processed foods for 2 weeks does to your body, right? All these articles. But then RFK and announced, Make America Healthy Again, talking badly about processed foods. Right after that happened, Time Magazine came out with this. What if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think?
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. All right, a little bit of catch up today and a little bit of new stuff. But, I've been wanting to play that clip for a while. That was a couple weeks ago. And basically, this was pretty insane. I kind of watched it play out. But long story short, after Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped out. And then remember when I did that episode with like Casey and Callie Means in terms of, attacking processed foods and, big pharma and things like that. Anyway, Time Magazine at that time came out with a story, and it happened exactly the way that gal said. So they came out with this story and it said, what if ultra processed foods aren't as bad as you think? Which I remember seeing it and I'm like, what the heck? That is, I thought it was maybe like a trick headline or something, clickbait, because, again, obviously ultra processed foods, when you strip out nutrition and really fundamentally, by the way, what that comes down to in most cases is stripping out the fiber and then in some cases stripping out, the vitamin and mineral content. And then most of the time, it's replaced with sugar. It really is. And it's replaced with high fructose corn syrup or something to where when you look at the nutritional facts panel, you'll no longer see any fiber. And then basically the entire carbohydrate count, if it says like 32 grams of carbohydrates, it'll basically underneath it say 32 grams of sugar. And so what's happening in that situation is there's no fiber for your body to use along with that sugar to slow down the release of insulin. And so when you have a massive sugar spike like that from food or even from drinking a Coca-Cola or, a Frappuccino, Wappuccino, Cappuccino, Mappuccino, your body is going to release insulin and you're going to have a spike in insulin. And those are the things that, lead to long-term, obviously it's a little more complicated of a process, but those are the things that lead to long-term health damage. And they lead to obesity and they lead to extra weight and all of that stuff. People not really understanding their amount of sugar that they're taking in, coupled with stripping away, fiber and vitamins and minerals from their food. Fundamentally, it's a little more complicated than that, but that's what the processing of food process does. And when you take away that fiber, like I said, that kind of leads to a variety of reactions. So when I saw that article, I was incredibly surprised. So I started looking on Twitter and man, Time Magazine got completely attacked. And within hours, they changed the title of the article.
X went crazy showing everybody that. And so they're like, okay, hold on. We have to change this. We have to change this. Let's change the title. Why one dietitian is speaking up for ultra-processed foods. So they just changed that yesterday morning. It was originally posted then with a different title. See, I wish they would show the edit history. That would be fabulous. Anyway, your voice matters. We're calling out everyone on X, and it's pretty fun seeing all these companies have to keep up with all the truth being spread around so fast.
so like she said, they then changed the title. They geared it around this one dietitian who basically she's probably a paid shill. And so she was making the case why ultra processed foods might not be that bad. I mean, it was the most pathetic piece of journalism. And then I went to that dietitian's Instagram and her website and all that. And, not only was she completely, I hate talking bad about people, but completely out of shape, completely looked unbelievably unhealthy. But it seems like, again, they do find people that they can leverage because of a title, in this case being a dietitian, and they can get them to, write what they want or say what they want. And then think about that. That's Time Magazine anchoring an entire article around the opinion of one dietitian. How insane is that? Like, that is insane coming from Time Magazine. Now, if that dietitian has her own blog and that's truly her opinion that unprocessed foods are not that bad, okay, that's fine. You can take that for what it is. But, I wanted to share that because honestly, it's kind of like the conversation we had yesterday a little bit in terms of, weather modification and the ability for cloud seeding and things like that. And, fundamentally, again, just question everything, really, well, not everything, but when you see something that doesn't make sense, I should have put it that way. When you see something that you're like, okay, wow, that is counterintuitive to what I think, it's okay to question things, even when it's in Time Magazine. I mean, think about that. I think prior to, let's say, my own personal, I don't even want to call it an awakening, but my own personal desire to, search for my truth, when if somebody had said, hey, what do you think about Time Magazine? I mean, of course, we grew up on Time Magazine, like the Time Person of the Year and all of that stuff. You would inherently think that Time Magazine is a beacon of the truth, but things have changed. I mean, honestly, the world has changed. It really has. The world has changed. And so now, I bring this stuff to your attention because I really want you to see how that change basically manifests itself in places you would never expect. And Time Magazine is one of those places. I mean, I would have thought Time Magazine, as I did growing up with Time Magazine, was a beacon of the truth. But when they can get behind an article that really tries to paint ultra processed foods in a remotely positive light, you kind of have to shake your head, and again, you have to question it.
A big part of the CIA's job is taking down leaders of foreign countries. How long before it does that here in the United States?
Yeah, probably 61 years ago was their first run at this with President Kennedy. It was clearly someone's operation, not Lee Harvey Oswald's.
That's pretty obvious.
All we know, and all of the evidence points in that direction. The most recent evidence that magic bullet, which was one of the justifications of the absurd account of a lone gunman, was also debunked. Most likely it was a government coup.
All right, playing a little bit of catch up today, and I don't know if I played that clip in the past. I don't think I did, but so that was Professor Jeffrey Sachs on Tucker Carlson, again, talking about the John F. Kennedy assassination. I actually am going to download that entire episode and then another episode from John Mearsheimer, and I will bring those to you guys and give you my comments, kind of like what I did earlier this week. But it was a really good episode. Again, this whole JFK thing, it's starting to again gain momentum on the internet, just like 9/11 is, and now this, weather modification, cloud seeding stuff there's more and more things coming out. So again, I guess today's episode might just be couched under the concept of, hey, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to basically, gosh, it's like we're turning into fact checkers. Isn't that funny? Wow, we're turning into narrative checkers more than anything.
But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why?
Donald Trump said no, told them to vote against it because it gives him a campaign issue.
All right, this is a two-part clip. That's another thing another clip overall I wanted to play previously. And then, man, Kaizen, I'm going to have to start paying this guy some royalties. So this was another duet or whatever he did where he posted that initial clip about, the border bill. And remember, it was like, again, the border was ignored for 3.5 years. And then literally 4 or 5 months ago, the Democrats supposedly championed a border bill. But listen to this. This is such a good analysis and such a good nuanced take. And it's more importantly, it's what you don't see when they don't show you the clear picture.
Good Lord, is this disingenuous? Let's talk about what was in this supposed border bill. Out of $118 billion, $61.4 billion was for Ukraine. That's 52%. 12% was for Israel. 11% was for border security. So was this a border bill or a foreign aid bill with a border component to it? This is a classic politician move. Instead of actually addressing a targeted issue with specific solutions, load a bill with billions of dollars for unrelated stuff, make the bill hundreds of pages so no one can actually read it, and then blame the other side and say, well, we proposed a solution, but you shot it down.
So again, remember, gosh, for those of you that have listened for a long time, this whole concept of omnibus bills, continuing resolution, CR. Remember we talked about that continuing resolution? It's kind of like kicking the can down the road. That Republican Senator Matt Gaetz did a really good job of bringing that to the forefront. But the funny thing is, he's kind of been silenced after he made all that noise, and then also got Kevin McCarthy fired on his day off, if you remember all that stuff. But, Kaizen really laid that out well, and so let him finish.
The Biden-Harris administration does deserve credit for finally signing an executive order in June that has substantively decreased illegal immigration across the border. But the Democrats held the executive branch and the House and the Senate for the first 2 years of the Biden administration. Biden has had the ability to unilaterally sign this executive order for 3.5 years. So why is it only now, interestingly enough, during election season, that they're proposing real change?
I mean, that's seriously such a great question. And he did such a good job of laying that out. And there's a couple analyses that I've found, and let me kind of dissect them a little bit more. But, this whole border crisis and immigrants coming in, illegal immigrants, and kind of flooding the system with immigrants. I mean, think about it. It happened remember New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who once was the poster child for sanctity cities and, bring us everybody, we'll take them. This is America. And then all of a sudden, when he's like, holy crap, we can't handle this. My city is now being overrun. And he started being highly critical of the Biden organization. Look at what's happened to him. They've totally taken him down, completely taken him down. He's got all these allegations against him. And, it's almost like he's falling into the Diddy category. And this is New York Mayor Eric Adams, whom at one point was the golden child in terms of, Democrats in New York. Same thing with Andrew Cuomo. Remember, Governor Cuomo was the golden child. We've talked about this before. And then he wasn't. They got a little bit maybe too big for their britches. Maybe they got a little bit too loud, started complaining a little too much. Maybe that's what happened with Diddy. Who knows? But let's ask questions. Let's get to the bottom of this stuff. All right, here's another. Sorry, I'm kind of catching up on clips that I've wanted to play for you guys. Sorry to be picking on Kamala today, but here's another Kamala clip.
Remember when Kamala Harris said this on the debate stage?
What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit.
Okay, by the way, so this analysis, this was on NPR, so this is interesting.
Well, since ABC failed to do any fact-checking, it turns out that what she said isn't so true, as both Goldman Sachs and Wharton have now publicly refuted her claims. After Harris's sit-down with Oprah, where she regurgitated the same talking point, Wharton Business School shot down her claim that she'll strengthen the economy, saying, "We do not find a positive impact on the economy from her plan in any future year." After the debate, the CEO of Goldman Sachs had already refuted her claims as being exaggerated.
All right, so next week I am going to bring you, I don't know if you guys saw or not, but Kamala Harris was on 60 Minutes. So she did a interview on 60 Minutes that had a lot of interesting stuff and has kind of gotten a lot of pieces to go viral because it looks like 60 Minutes did a similar thing as Time Magazine, where what they initially posted on their YouTube changed and then people called it out. People are incredible, man. I don't know how they have the foresight to, I don't know if they record things or if there's tools out there to basically monitor this stuff. Who knows? But there was a clip in particular that was originally aired a certain way and then it was kind of redacted and put up in a different way. And so now the Trump organization is demanding they put the original, I guess, footage online. But anyway, I'm going to go through that 60 Minutes piece over the weekend and then share some of that with you guys next week. A couple other things that I did want to talk about, which I found was interesting. One is that Ethel Kennedy died. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s mother, Ethel Kennedy, died at the age of, I think, 96. Yes, she was 96. Here's what's wild about this, and this is really the only reason I'm sharing this. The headline on CNN and MSNBC basically says, Ethel Kennedy, widow of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. No, I'm sorry. Widow of Robert F. Kennedy dies at 96. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, is that RFK Jr.'s mom? It has to be because RFK was RFK Jr.'s dad. So then I read the entire article, and this was on CNN. This is crazy. Literally, it does not mention RFK Jr. until the very bottom. Literally the second paragraph from the end, it says, most recently, Ethel Kennedy's family was caught in political strife when her oldest son, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., ran for president in 2024, initially as a Democrat and later as an independent. Members of the staunchly Democratic family shunned his campaign, calling it dangerous and noting their frustration and sadness. RFK Jr. suspended his campaign and later endorsed former President Trump. Anyway, my point of sharing that is, you would think that they would have led with her being RFK Jr.'s mom, because honestly, if you think about the Kennedys, RFK Jr. is the most newsworthy these days. He's the one that's really been in the news this entire year. And so I thought it was interesting that, again, they don't make mention that this is RFK Jr.'s mom until the second to last paragraph. So again, I point this out because I want you to understand how the media works. And again, in my opinion, when someone thinks of Ethel Kennedy's dying, the first thing that should be, I guess, highlighted is that this is RFK Jr.'s mother. Because again, RFK Jr., of all the Kennedys, he's the one that's in the news the most. But they didn't do that. They basically put his mention at the end. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Maybe you don't. All right, another news story that I thought was interesting, and again, it surprises me, is this, once again, CNN main headline on their CNN politics page. It says, Biden held direct 30-minute call with Netanyahu, White House says. And it says, President Biden, after not speaking to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for 49 days, had a call with him that lasted 30 minutes. All right, so why am I sharing that? I'm sharing that because don't you think it's insane that those two have not, quote unquote, supposedly spoken in 49 days? I mean, maybe they haven't. Honestly, maybe they haven't spoken in 49 days. But the fact that we just sent another $8.7 billion to Israel last week, and quite frankly, Israel and Iran are like wanting to rip each other's heads apart. And, obviously the United States is sort of joined at the hip with Israel. Don't you think it's strange that the two leaders would not speak for 49 days? I mean, collectively, by the way, it is now up to almost $26 billion in the past 1 year that has been sent to Israel from the United States. That's in addition to the $3 billion we send them every year since 1948, basically. So I just thought that was odd. I mean, again, if I'm going to believe the article, I'm in shock they haven't spoken in 49 days. And then my intuition tells me there's no way they haven't spoken in 49 days. And then take that one step further. If they really haven't spoken in 49 days, what does that really mean? Does that mean Biden's really the president or he's not the president? How does the president not speak to the leader of Israel in 49 days? That's a long time. That's a long time. So anyway, all of that stuff is just goofy to me. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up. I thought I'd share it. You give me your thoughts. Maybe I am overlooking at that or overreacting. And if so, let me know. All right, that's it, everybody. We're going to do another 22-minute episode. Have a great weekend and call a spade a spade. Keep the ideas coming. Keep the text messages coming. Seriously, I really appreciate it. I'm working on something in the AI space, so I'll share that with you guys maybe next week or so. And that's about it. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Call a spade a spade.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.